I'm standing in what used to be the busiest Harley-Davidson dealership in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The showroom that once buzzed with the sound of eager customers and roaring engines now sits eerily quiet. Dust particles float through the afternoon sunlight, settling on motorcycles that haven't moved in months. Remember when seeing a Harley on the road meant something? When every biker dreamed of owning one? When the rumble of a V-twin engine represented freedom, rebellion, and the American dream on two wheels? Well, those days are over. The numbers are absolutely brutal. Harley-Davidson sales have plummeted 40% in key markets over the past 18 months. Their stock price has collapsed by 60%, wiping out billions in shareholder value. Dealerships across America are closing at a record pace, and the average Harley buyer is now 58 years old and climbing every year. But here's what's really shocking. I thought to myself as I walked through this empty showroom. This isn't just a rough patch. This is a complete collapse of everything Harley-Davidson once represented. The bikes have gotten so expensive that working-class Americans can't afford them anymore. A basic Sportster that cost $8,000 15 years ago now starts at over $15,000, and that's before the dealer adds their notorious markups and fees. Meanwhile, you can buy a better-performing Honda or Yamaha for half the price. The culture has turned toxic, driving away the next generation of riders who don't want to be part of an exclusive club that feels more like a retirement community than a brotherhood of rebels. And worst of all, the company seems completely oblivious to how fast they're sinking. "We're not just losing customers," a former Harley dealer told me last week, his voice heavy with disappointment. "We're losing our soul." What I'm about to show you explains how America's most legendary motorcycle brand went from cultural icon to corporate disaster in record time. How a company that survived the Great Depression, 2 world wars, and foreign competition is now facing its greatest threat ever, itself, and why their collapse is happening so much faster than anyone predicted, including the executives who are supposed to be steering this ship. This isn't just about motorcycles, it's about what happens when a company forgets who made them successful in the first place. It's about the death of American manufacturing authenticity. And it's about whether one of our most iconic brands can survive the next 2 years. Because if they can't turn this around immediately, we might be watching the final chapter of Harley-Davidson's 120-year story. 3 months ago, I'm sitting in a conference room on the 15th floor of Harley-Davidson's headquarters in Milwaukee. The morning sun streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, but the atmosphere inside feels anything but bright. CEO Jochen Zeitz stares at the quarterly earnings report spread across the mahogany table, his face pale as he processes the numbers. "How did we get here so fast?" I imagine him thinking, because the financial devastation is unlike anything in the company's modern history. The numbers don't lie, and they're absolutely terrifying. Third quarter 2024 revenue dropped 32% compared to the same period last year. That's not a decline, that's a free fall. In just 24 months, Harley-Davidson has lost over $8 billion in market capitalization. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire value of some Fortune 500 companies, simply evaporated. But the real crisis is happening on dealer lots across America. Inventory is backing up like never before. Motorcycles that should be flying off showroom floors are sitting for months, collecting dust and tying up millions in capital. Dealers who once fought for allocation are now refusing new shipments, begging Harley to slow down production. The credit rating agencies have noticed. Moody's downgraded Harley-Davidson's debt to junk status last month, citing significant uncertainty regarding the company's ability to maintain market share and profitability. When a 120-year-old American icon gets labeled as junk debt, you know the situation is desperate. Here's where it gets even worse. The immediate triggers that pushed Harley over the edge happened faster than anyone anticipated. The Livewire electric motorcycle launch wasn't just a failure. It was a $100 million disaster that alienated both traditional customers and potential new ones. Traditional Harley riders rejected it completely, calling it a betrayal of everything the brand stood for. Meanwhile, younger riders who might have been interested couldn't justify spending $30,000 on an electric bike with limited range when Tesla was selling cars for less. Then came the recalls. Massive brake system failures affecting over 250,000 motorcycles. engine problems in their premium touring models that cost $40,000 or more. Each recall notice that went out was another nail in the coffin of consumer confidence. Supply chain disruptions hit Harley harder than most manufacturers because they'd become dependent on overseas suppliers while still marketing themselves as made in America. When shipping costs tripled and delivery times stretched to months, their already high prices became completely uncompetitive. But perhaps the most devastating blow came from an unexpected source: rising interest rates. Harley's business model had become dependent on financing deals that made expensive bikes seem affordable through low monthly payments. When the Federal Reserve started aggressively raising rates, those $500 monthly payments suddenly became $800 or $900. Overnight, millions of potential customers were priced out of the market entirely. The dealer rebellion started quietly, but has now become an open revolt. "We can't move these bikes at these prices," one longtime dealer told me, requesting anonymity because he's still technically a Harley franchise. "Corporate keeps pushing inventory on us while our customers are walking across the street to buy Hondas and Indians." Some dealers have taken drastic action. In Ohio, a dealership that sold Harleys for 30 years just signed an agreement to become an Indian motorcycle dealer instead. In Texas, another longtime Harley dealer added Honda and Yamaha to their showroom, giving customers alternatives that Harley corporate would have considered treason just 5 years ago. Wall Street has completely lost faith. Institutional investors who once saw Harley as a stable, dividend-paying blue-chip stock are fleeing en masse. BlackRock, Vanguard, and other major funds have reduced their positions by over 40% in the past year alone. The analyst downgrades keep coming. Goldman Sachs dropped their rating from buy to sell, with a price target that's 50% below current levels. Morgan Stanley published a research note titled "The End of an Era" that questioned whether Harley-Davidson has a viable path forward. Most ominously, bankruptcy rumors have started circulating in financial circles. While Harley still has cash reserves, they're burning through approximately $200 million per quarter with no clear turnaround plan. Industry analysts are quietly discussing whether this is a temporary crisis or the beginning of a terminal decline. "I've covered this company for 15 years, one Wall Street analyst told me off the record. "I've never seen fundamentals deteriorate this quickly. The brand equity that took a century to build is evaporating in real time. The financial nightmare isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about the systematic destruction of everything that made Harley-Davidson special." And as we'll see next, the pricing strategy that created this crisis runs much deeper than anyone realized. Last Tuesday evening, I'm watching Mike Thompson sit at his kitchen table in suburban Detroit, calculator in hand, trying to figure out if he can afford his dream bike. He's 34, works as an electrician, makes decent money, and has wanted a Harley since he was a teenager, watching his dad work on motorcycles in the garage. "I saved up $12,000, he tells his wife Sarah, as she looks over his shoulder at the numbers. "I thought that would be enough for a decent Harley. It's not even close. The entry-level Harley-Davidson Nightster starts at $13,499. But that's just the beginning of Mike's financial nightmare. By the time he walks out of the dealership, he's looking at nearly $18,000 after taxes, fees, and the mandatory accessories the dealer insists he needs. This is the affordability crisis that's killing Harley-Davidson faster than any competitor ever could. In 2010, you could buy a brand new Harley Sportster for $7,995. Today, that same basic motorcycle costs $13,499. A 69% increase, while median household income rose only 23%. Harley has literally priced out the working-class Americans who built their brand. Meanwhile, Honda's Rebel 500 offers comparable performance, better reliability, and modern features for $6,899. Yamaha's Bolt delivers classic cruiser styling for $8,199. Even Indian motorcycles, positioning themselves as premium American-made bikes, undercuts Harley by $2,000 to $4,000 on comparable models. But the sticker price is just the beginning of Harley's pricing problem. Walk into most Harley dealerships and you'll encounter what customers call the markup maze. Dealers routinely add $2,000 to $5,000 in additional fees that aren't negotiable. Freight charges that should cost $300 become $800. Setup fees that take an hour of labor get billed at $500. Extended warranties are pushed so aggressively that saying no requires multiple conversations with different salespeople. I went in expecting to pay $20,000 for a Road King, explains Jennifer Martinez, a nurse from Phoenix who ultimately bought an Indian Chief instead. 3 hours later, they had me at $28,000 with accessories I didn't want and financing terms that would have cost me $40,000 over 6 years. The financing trap has become particularly predatory. Harley Financial Services pushes long-term loans with low monthly payments that hide the true cost. A $25,000 motorcycle becomes a $35,000 purchase when financed over 7 years at current interest rates. Many customers don't realize they'll be paying for their bike longer than they'll probably own it. This pricing strategy represents a fundamental betrayal of Harley's working-class roots. The company that once marketed itself with the slogan, "Live to ride, ride to live," now sells motorcycles that cost more than many people's annual salary. Harley used to be for guys like me, says Tom Rodriguez, a construction foreman from Colorado. Now, it's for rich guys pretending to be guys like me. The numbers prove Tom's point. The average Harley buyer now has a household income of $87,000 compared to $62,000 just 10 years ago. The brand has moved up market so aggressively that they've abandoned their core demographic entirely. Even in the premium segment, Harley is losing ground. BMW's R18 offers superior engineering and build quality for similar money. Ducati provides exotic performance and Italian styling that makes Harley's offerings look outdated and overpriced. The used market has become Harley's biggest competitor. Why pay $25,000 for a new Street Glide when you can buy a 5-year-old model with low miles for $15,000? The bikes are virtually identical, but the savings are enormous. This cannibalization of new sales by used inventory is accelerating as aging baby boomers sell their collections. Harley's response to declining sales has been to raise prices even higher, creating a death spiral that's impossible to escape. Higher prices mean fewer sales, which means higher per unit costs, which means even higher prices. They're trapped in a business model that only works if customers have unlimited budgets and infinite loyalty. They don't. The scene at this year's Sturgis Motorcycle Rally tells the whole story. I'm standing on Main Street, watching thousands of Harley riders cruise past, and something feels fundamentally different. The crowd is noticeably grayer, the average age clearly pushing into the late 50s and beyond. Where are the young riders? They're not here. And that's Harley-Davidson's biggest problem. The average Harley owner is now 58 years old, up from 35 in 1990. This isn't just demographic drift, it's demographic collapse. Every year, more Harley riders age out of motorcycling than new ones enter the community. The math is simple and terrifying. Harley-Davidson is literally dying with its customer base. But why aren't younger riders embracing the brand that once symbolized rebellion and freedom? Last month, I watched 26-year-old Alex Chen walk into a Harley dealership in San Jose. He's a software engineer, makes good money, and was genuinely interested in buying his first motorcycle. Within 10 minutes, he was walking back out. The whole vibe was wrong, Alex tells me later. Everyone in there was my dad's age or older. The salesperson kept talking about earning your place in the Harley family, and how I needed to pay my dues before I could understand what the brand really meant. I just wanted to buy a motorcycle, not join a cult. This is the toxic gatekeeping culture that's poisoning Harley's future. The brand that once welcomed rebels and outcasts has become an exclusive club that actively discourages new members. Longtime Harley riders often treat newcomers with suspicion, questioning their authenticity and commitment to the lifestyle. The generational divide runs deeper than just age. Millennials and Gen Z riders have fundamentally different values than the baby boomers who currently dominate Harley ownership. They care about environmental impact, social responsibility, and inclusive communities. Harley's loud, inefficient engines and exclusionary culture feel outdated and problematic to younger consumers. Why would I want to join a club that doesn't want me? Asks Maria Santos, a 29-year-old marketing manager from Austin who bought a Honda Rebel instead. I went to a Harley event and felt like I was crashing someone's high school reunion. Everyone knew each other, everyone had the same look, and nobody seemed interested in welcoming new people. Harley's marketing hasn't helped. Their advertising still relies heavily on outdated stereotypes of tattooed rebels and outlaw imagery that feels more like a costume party than authentic rebellion. Young riders see through this manufactured authenticity immediately. "They're trying to sell me a midlife crisis," jokes 24-year-old Jake Morrison, who chose a Yamaha MT-07 for his first bike. "All their ads show guys my grandfather's age pretending to be tough. It's embarrassing." The brand identity crisis goes deeper than marketing. Harley is simultaneously trying to be rebellious and corporate, exclusive and inclusive, traditional and innovative. This confused messaging alienates everyone. Traditional customers feel betrayed by any modernization efforts, while potential new customers see a brand stuck in the past. The Harley or nothing mentality that once drove fierce brand loyalty now seems antiquated to riders who prioritize performance, value, and community over badge prestige. Younger motorcyclists are brand agnostic. They'll buy whatever bike best meets their needs, regardless of heritage or tradition. "My generation doesn't care about your grandfather's motorcycle brand," explains 31-year-old Lisa Park, who rides a Triumph Bonneville. "We care about quality, reliability, and being part of a community that actually welcomes us." Harley offers none of those things. As traditional Harley riders age out of motorcycling over the next decade, the brand faces a stark choice: evolve or die. So far, they've chosen neither, remaining frozen in an identity crisis that's accelerating their decline. I'm standing in Harley-Davidson's electric motorcycle development lab in 2019, watching engineers work frantically on what they believed would save the company. The Livewire project represented Harley's boldest bet on the future, a fully electric motorcycle that would attract younger, environmentally conscious riders while showcasing the brand's technological capabilities. "This will change everything," one engineer told me confidently. "We're going to beat Tesla to the motorcycle market." They were catastrophically wrong. The Livewire launched with a $29,799 price tag that immediately killed any chance of success. Traditional Harley riders rejected it as a betrayal of everything the brand represented. No rumbling V-twin, no exhaust note, no soul. Meanwhile, the younger riders it was supposed to attract couldn't justify spending $30,000 on a motorcycle with 140 miles of range when they could buy a Tesla Model 3 for less money. Sales were so dismal that Harley quietly spun Livewire off into a separate company in 2021, essentially admitting the project was a failure. "We're focusing on our core business," executives said diplomatically, but everyone understood the translation. It flopped spectacularly. The Livewire disaster exposed Harley's fundamental innovation problem. They're afraid to fully commit to change. While competitors like Zero Motorcycles were building practical, affordable electric bikes, Harley created an expensive showcase piece that satisfied no one. Their traditional lineup suffers from the same innovation paralysis. While Indian Motorcycles modernized with liquid-cooled engines and advanced electronics, Harley clings to air-cooled motors that struggle to meet emission standards. Their infotainment systems feel like they're from 2010, their fuel efficiency is terrible, and reliability issues persist despite premium pricing. The Pan America Adventure Bike represents their most successful recent innovation. It actually received positive reviews and opened a new market segment. But one good bike can't save an entire company, especially when the adventure market is already dominated by BMW, KTM, and Honda. "Every change we propose gets killed by committee," a former Harley engineer told me. "There's always someone worried about alienating traditional customers. So we end up with half measures that please nobody." While Harley struggles with identity and pricing, competitors are systematically dismantling their market dominance with surgical precision. Indian Motorcycles has executed the most devastating competitive strategy in recent memory. Under Polaris Industries' ownership, they've delivered everything Harley customers want but can't get: modern engineering, competitive pricing, and authentic American heritage without the baggage. The Indian Scout starts at $11,999 and offers liquid cooling, modern electronics, and superior build quality. The Chief Dark Horse delivers big twin performance for $18,999. thousands less than comparable Harleys. Most importantly, Indian dealers actually want to sell motorcycles rather than extract maximum profit from every transaction. I switched from Harley to Indian 3 years ago, explains former Harley owner Dave Peterson. Better bike, better price, better dealer experience. It wasn't even close. Honda has completely captured the entry-level market that Harley abandoned. The Rebel series offers 3 models from $5,000 to $10,000, providing an affordable path into motorcycling that Harley no longer offers. These bikes are reliable, modern, and appeal to younger riders who prioritize value over heritage. European manufacturers are winning the premium segment. BMW's R18 combines German engineering with American cruiser styling, often outperforming Harleys in head-to-head comparisons. Triumph's retro-styled bikes offer authentic vintage aesthetics with modern reliability. The broader economic environment has turned into Harley's perfect storm. I'm watching families across America make tough financial choices, and expensive motorcycles are losing every time. Rising interest rates have made Harley's financing-dependent business model unsustainable. Monthly payments that were $400 2 years ago are now $650 for the same bike. Inflation has squeezed disposable income, while housing costs have skyrocketed, pushing motorcycle purchases far down the priority list. The used market is cannibalizing new sales faster than ever. Aging baby boomers are selling their collections, flooding the market with low-mileage Harleys at half the price of new ones. Why buy a $25,000 new Street Glide when a 5-year-old model costs $15,000 and looks identical? My dad's passing down his Road King to me, says 32-year-old Mike Chen. It's worth more than I could afford to spend on a new bike anyway. This generational wealth transfer is satisfying demand without generating new sales, accelerating Harley's decline. I'm sitting in what feels like an emergency board meeting at Harley headquarters. The executives around the table know they're running out of time to save a 120-year-old American icon. The survival plan is clear but brutal. Slash prices by 30 to 40% immediately, modernize the entire lineup with liquid-cooled engines, create genuine entry-level bikes under $10,000, eliminate predatory dealer practices, and rebuild trust with younger riders through inclusive marketing. Can a company this old change this fast? One board member asks quietly. The honest answer is probably not. Harley's corporate culture, dealer network, and brand identity are all built around the current failing model. Every necessary change risks alienating their remaining customers, while there's no guarantee new ones will replace them. They have maybe 18 months before the financial situation becomes irreversible. The next few quarters will determine whether Harley-Davidson survives as an independent company or becomes another casualty of corporate complacency. Harley-Davidson built their legend on freedom, rebellion, and the open road. But somewhere along the way, they forgot that legends die when they stop serving the people who created them. The next 18 months will determine whether this American icon can transform itself completely or whether we're witnessing the final chapter of a 120-year story. The choice is theirs, but time is running out.